A car sits alone on a quiet mountain road, engine off, doors unlocked. Inside, a wallet, a cell phone, a few scattered belongings. But the man who drove it here, a man nearly 7 feet tall, is nowhere to be found. No broken glass, no blood, no clear sign of struggle, just silence. Who was he? How did he end up here? And how does someone so impossible to miss simply vanish? Friends say he was on the brink of rebuilding his life. Family thought he was coming home. But somewhere along the journey, something changed. What happened next is a mystery that has tormented investigators, family, and online communities for years. This is the story of a man with a second chance, a long road, and a disappearance that still has no ending. Stay with me. The deeper we go, the stranger this case becomes. This is the chilling disappearance of Rico Harris, a man whose life once revolved around roaring crowds, stadium lights, and the electric pulse of basketball courts, yet whose final known moments were spent in silence, surrounded only by towering trees and winding back roads. A life of promise, a journey toward redemption, and a vanishing that left more questions than answers. Rico Omar Harris was no ordinary man. He was a star, a towering figure of talent and charisma. But behind the highlight reels and the applause, there were battles, personal ones. Battles many never saw, pressure, expectations, injuries, addiction. He fought through them, stumbled, got back up, stumbled again. Like many, he was searching for a way forward. On a long drive from Washington to California, that search came to a halt. Somewhere on that road, the trail goes cold. In this story, we will retrace Rico's final journey, piece by piece. We'll uncover what investigators found and what they didn't. We'll explore the sightings, the footprints, the theories, and the chilling silence that followed. From phone records to witness accounts, from the dreams he carried to the demons he wrestled, we will follow every lead and stay until the end, because the final timeline, the strange clues left behind, and what search teams discovered days later might change how you see this case entirely. This isn't just a disappearance. It's a story of potential, pain, hope, and questions that remain unanswered to this day. Before the headlines, before the search teams and the missing posters, there was a boy. Tall for his age, gifted, restless, growing up in North Hollywood. He was the kind of kid who couldn't sit still, always dribbling a ball, always reaching for something just beyond his fingertips, not out of arrogance, but hunger, hope, and drive. By middle school, coaches noticed something rare. Not just height, but instinct, a natural sense for the game. He moved like the court belonged to him. High school came, and with it, recognition. Scouts filled bleachers. Opponents whispered his name as they laced their sneakers. That Harris kid, watch him. College recruiters lined up, and soon he walked into UCLA, blue and gold jersey on his back, dreams even larger than the arena lights above him. He wasn't quiet. He wasn't shy. Teammates remember charm. Coaches remember raw fire. Friends describe a man who filled every room with presence. Confident, funny, magnetic. Women adored him. Kids idolized him. And for a time it seemed the world was opening wide, ready to hand him everything he'd ever worked for. But talent is only one part of the story. Behind every rising star stands another battle, the one no one sees. Injuries slowed progress. Parties blurred nights. Alcohol crept into moments of celebration, then into moments of stress. Eventually, it became a shadow he carried everywhere. The higher he climbed, the more fragile the balance became. A missed practice here, a suspension there. Opportunities slipping through fingers like sand, not because he lacked ability, but because life has a way of testing even the strongest spirits. Hope returned in small waves. Rico joined semi-pro teams, traveled, worked out relentlessly, determined to fight his way back. When he played, crowds remembered greatness. He fell, stood up, slipped again, stood taller. A cycle many know too well, progress and relapse, dancing together in a painful rhythm. He wasn't simply chasing basketball. He was chasing redemption, stability, identity. They saw his heart, generous, protective, loving. They saw the boy beneath the athlete, the son who checked in, the brother who cared, the partner who promised better days. Home videos show Rico laughing, dancing, towering above everyone, not as a star, but as a person with flaws, fears, dreams, and warmth. Rico wasn't just an athlete, he was someone's child, someone's partner, someone's brother. A man trying to rebuild, step by step, even when the ground beneath him shook. But roads toward healing are long, winding, unpredictable, and not every chapter ends where we expect. Days later, Rico would begin the trip back to California, a trip that would lead to one of the most confounding missing persons cases in modern true crime. Autumn of 2014. Leaves turning, weather cooling. Rico Harris was in Washington with his girlfriend, Jennifer. For weeks, he'd stayed there, talking about new beginnings, a return to Los Angeles, reconciling with family, re-entering programs, staying sober, rebuilding momentum. Jennifer remembers their final days together as peaceful. They watched movies, cooked dinners, shared long conversations about the future, not the past. He talked about writing, mentoring younger players, maybe even coaching. On October 9th, he packed clothes into a black duffel, hugged her tight, promised he would let her know when he arrived home. Nothing dramatic, no yelling, no cryptic messages, just an ordinary goodbye, the kind that only becomes haunting in hindsight. The road stretched endlessly beneath his tires. Gas stations came and went. He bought snacks, filled up the tank, phoned family members along the way. Short calls, casual tone. Around midnight, his phone pinged a cell tower near Sacramento. Hours later, another signal, deeper inland, off the main route, not toward Los Angeles anymore. This is where the journey becomes unsettling. Somewhere between fatigue, reflection, and miles of dark road, Rico left the interstate, phoned his mother, Margie. The call didn't last long. He sounded emotional, almost sentimental. He expressed love, sincerely, deeply, a tone that would later haunt her thoughts, traveling into the foothills of Yolo County. That conversation was the final time his voice was heard by family. Doors unlocked, driver absent, car pointed toward home, yet owner missing. Deputies assumed he walked off voluntarily, maybe to find help, maybe to rest, maybe disoriented. Yet no one knows why he would abandon his phone, a lifeline in unfamiliar territory. Ground teams swept the area for days. Nothing. No clothing, no trace. Only silence and unanswered questions. Every hour without contact felt heavier. Worry crept in. Not panic at first, just confusion. Then unease. Then dread. How does someone vanish in daylight? How does a 6'9" athlete disappear like smoke through trees? This road was supposed to lead home. Instead, it led to a mystery that grows stranger with every mile. Morning light crept over Yolo County on October 13, 2014. Deputy officers patrolling rural stretches stumbled upon a black sedan parked just off the road, quiet, unoccupied, oddly still, as if waiting for someone who never returned. The doors unlocked, keys resting near the console, wallet in plain view, a cell phone left behind. No broken windows, No tire tracks suggesting a fast escape. Just belongings a person typically keeps close, abandoned without explanation. Vehicles rarely end up here by accident. Locals avoid these roads after dark. So why stop here? Why leave everything behind? The officer called it in. Backup arrived. They scanned the area, calling out Rico's name into stillness that swallowed their voices whole. Nothing inside suggested violence or panic. The engine wasn't warm. The vehicle appeared to have been there for hours. No prints returning to the car. No sign he ever made it back. Crews combed ravines and creek beds. They checked hunting cabins, abandoned sheds, dirt paths known only to locals. Each hour that passed made the case darker. The wilderness does not wait. Search dogs rarely lose human scent without cause. Terrain, water, or distance usually plays a part. Here, none offered answers. Family waited by their phones, hoping he would answer. None expected the next update to come from law enforcement rather than Rico himself. Concern turned quickly into fear. A man his size does not disappear easily, not without leaving a mark. His phone, keys, and wallet remained untouched, items people cling to instinctively when lost. It was as if he walked away intentionally or hurriedly. No clothing, no blood, no indication of struggle, yet no sign of safety either. The story of that moment ends where the grass flattens and mystery begins. A parent never expects to search for a child this way, scanning hills instead of sidelines, hoping for footsteps instead of applause. Hours rolled into days. Trucks passed now and then, but none carried Rico. Every sunset made rescue feel less likely, unless he found shelter, unless he met someone, unless. The search would soon lead to unexpected observations, witnesses claiming sightings, strange footprints days later, moments investigators still debate today. Whatever occurred on that mountain road did not end with a parked car. It was only the beginning of a disappearance that would baffle detectives and ignite countless theories. Day 1 ended with hope. Day 2 began with uncertainty. Search teams expanded their perimeter, marking territories on maps with bright tape, moving deeper into the unforgiving landscape. But the land was relentless. Steep slopes, dense overgrowth, hidden holes capable of swallowing sound and sight. A misstep could mean injury, a wrong turn, miles lost. The trail was faint. The mountains held their secrets. He said the man seemed confused, as if trying to orient himself. No communication, no request for help, just silent movement along the shoulder, head lowered, hands at his sides. Authorities returned to interview him repeatedly. Could he recall direction, clothing, facial features? He remembered height, impossible to forget, nearly 7 feet. A glimpse, and then only uncertainty. Footprints appearing after extensive searches raised one chilling question. Was he moving through the region while crews searched nearby, unseen? Sightings. Footprints. A trail that seemed to vanish, then reappear like a ghost refusing to stay still. She spoke to him out loud sometimes, hoping somehow he'd hear. "Rico, where are you?" She wasn't ready to mourn. She wanted answers. One by one, promising paths dissolved into dead ends. A glove, not his. A shoe, wrong size. Clothing, torn but unrelated. Facts were scarce. Possibilities endless. Every viewer had an opinion, but evidence remained painfully thin. Authorities paused active sweep. Rico's loved ones stayed behind, unwilling to leave without him. The mountains grew darker with each nightfall, and the truth remained beyond reach. If the search was confusing, the investigation that followed would be even more perplexing. With search teams exhausted and no physical trace beyond footprints, investigators shifted focus inward, into Rico's digital shadow. Phones, finance logs, call history, anything that could illuminate his state of mind during that final road trip. He spoke to nearly everyone he cared about, except not once did he mention being lost or in danger. That deviation became the beating heart of the investigation, a turn unexplained by the man who made it. Yet beneath every testimony lay another question. Was Rico stable when he drove into those mountains? He had struggled with alcohol before. Recovery is not linear. Hope can coexist with relapse. Moments that seemed ordinary at the time later felt like signals. But hindsight is a lens sharpened by loss. Phones rarely stop cold unless powered off, destroyed, or drained, and his battery still held charge when found. No sign of struggle, no confrontation, just a man buying fuel, snacks, and moving on. A crime scene with no crime. Missing man with no trail. Clues appeared like whispers, fate fleeting, gone before grasped. The hardest part for those who loved him wasn't emptiness. It was not knowing which future to grieve. He walked out of frame, and the world has been waiting for him to return ever since. Because weeks later, something inexplicable surfaced in the mountains, a detail investigators could never fully explain. When the official search scaled back, most assumed the case had reached a silent standstill. But the story of Rico Harris refused to settle. Something or someone kept stirring the dust left behind. Lightings, vague, unconfirmed, scattered like breadcrumbs lost in wind. Yet each one rekindled the question, was Rico still out there? Too recent to belong to the early search period. Too large for most men. Too distinct to ignore. Footprints without a witness is like a voice without sound, real, yet impossible to hold. Was this Rico reaching out for help, or a coincidence molded by desperation and hope? Detectives interviewed the worker repeatedly. His description matched Rico's build, yet no additional sightings in the area surfaced. If it truly was him, where did he go next? Why no call for rescue? Why disappear again? This version assumes tragedy, a body hidden by terrain, seasons, and time. This view, painful and difficult, imagines Rico alive, somewhere, but unreachable. It felt as if the land itself swallowed evidence and fed only fragments back. The unknown invites storytelling, and this case offered endless blank pages. And yet, every clue stretched thin beneath scrutiny, like fog evaporating under daylight. Big men leave big shadows. Rico Harris left only questions. Some mysteries sit just beyond reach, close enough to feel, too far to grasp. But before we reach the final analysis, we must confront the uncomfortable heart of unresolved cases, theories that clash, evidence that contradicts, endings that refuse to close. Time has passed, evidence faded, yet one truth persists. Rico Harris disappeared into a place where answers refuse to surface, and so we turn to what remains: possibilities, fragments, stories built from shadows. Exhaustion can twist judgment. A wrong turn can become a final road. Silence after footprints could simply mean distance, beyond sound, beyond discovery. But if he chose a new life, why no trace? Why no sighting in cities? Why no withdrawal from accounts? Rural areas hold stories no one sees. A single moment can vanish without sound. Human minds can fracture quietly, even in men who look unbreakable from the outside. Imagine a man wandering, dehydrated, confused, slipping through tree lines just beyond rescue, close enough to be found, yet never crossing paths. If true, Rico may have been walking toward help, not away, in his final known movements. A step toward hope, ending in silence. Mysteries like this cling to the mind, not because they end, but because they don't. Somewhere there's a version of this story where Rico makes it home, where the phone rings and his mother answers, where hope wins. Time can soften wounds, but absence is a pain with no edges. It never quite fades. It simply sits in the room, waiting to be acknowledged. Beyond those facts, we stand where investigators stood, staring into uncertainty. These fragments form a picture, but pieces are missing, corners torn away by time. Mysteries do not always require villains. Sometimes all it takes is a tired man, a lonely road, and one step in the wrong direction. No discovery means possibility, painful but alive. No evidence of death means perhaps survival, a thread thin but unbroken. They lost not just a person, but a future that never had a chance to unfold. Maybe one day a hiker will find something, a shoe, a bone fragment, a forgotten clue. Maybe a call will come from another state. Maybe silence will remain the only answer. Until the day truth rises from these mountains, we hold him in memory, not as a mystery, but as a man. Tall, bright, flawed, fighting. A life that deserved more time, more healing, more sunrises. May his story remind us, every life holds chapters we never see, and every disappearance leaves questions echoing through time. What do you believe happened to Rico Harris? Was it fate, choice, or something darker hidden in those hills? Share your thoughts below. We read every theory. Comment your theory. Like for more cold cases. Subscribe for new true crime deep dives.